Let me show how the DVC rack works together with cage talkers and how they form a closed cycle. What we see here is a DVC rack with pre-registered cage talkers. You can see that the cage talkers show the positions the slot number they are in. These are empty cages. The purpose of this pre-registration is to save the readers or scanners on the changing station to avoid contamination bridges and to create space on the changing station. Let's put ourselves in the situation that we will receive animals today that we must accommodate. That is why we have created a list of free capacities here. Instead of printing out cage cards in advance and putting them in the animal room, we can create cage talkers in the office directly at the rack end. Then flash the LED slider when we arrive in the animal room, and then pull the empty cages with pre-generated cards when the animals need to be brought in and are housed. As we do not have an animal management system available, we create the cage cards with an Excel macro, and then continue working with our CTOS. All the processes shown here can also be carried out seamlessly in an animal management system in one way or another. We filter 2 cages from the projected delivery and create files by pressing CTRL-B. A macro will generate the 2 XML files for us, which we can then provide with a cage talker ID in our CTOS client app to then generate the cages. We make a move with the camera and scan the 2 cage talkers at positions A2. Then we press the move button and the data is uploaded to the server. The cage talkers are created after a while. And here we have the male and the female cage with their positions updated. Now we look at the DVC operator and we see that the DVC operator has also updated. The 2 cages accordingly in the background, here the male cage and here the female cage. All in one operation. Now we want to carry out a mating. We therefore pan the camera to have a good view of the changing station. To do this, we need the male and female cages and drag them out from the rack. We see that we have 2 yellow males and 2 gray females. What we need now is an empty cage, which we pull out of position A1 and place next to the 2 stock cages. You can see on the right that the so-called floating cages are expanding. And it is also quite exciting to see that as soon as the cages are set up, the expert system recognizes which transactions are to be carried out, namely the expert system analyses the data of the cages set up and suggests the corresponding transactions preemptively. In our case, we confirm the mating transaction. We see that the 2 animals are being transported in the virtual changing station to the empty cage. In this case, we do not want to perform a plug check. We also see that the preempted transactions were dynamically updated on the Stream Deck, which means that we do not have to touch a computer mouse, a keyboard, or a screen, thus avoiding contamination bridges. We can confirm the Create button directly on the Stream Deck, which is very easy to disinfect in one flow with the hands. While the cage cards change, we physically carry out the transaction with the animals. This means that we open the cage, we can see how the card is currently changing. Please note that the documentation was provided in 2 steps. The user can now physically carry out the transaction while the cage cards are updating, as if using a teleprompter. And during this time, the male and the female are physically moved. After this, we can now close all the cages. The transaction is complete. Now the cages are also closed on the virtual exchange station with the Stream Deck. They disappear from there, and we return the cages to the rack. We see the position number on returning to the rack. The last cage created can be placed in the rack wherever the user wants. The position will be updated automatically. We now pan back to the rack and see the 3 cages and their positions in the rack of the DVC operator as well. Here is the cage with the mating male-female. And here the other cages, once the male and once the female. There is also an alarm that there is no food in a cage. We won't worry about that now. We see that the mating has been completed. Now you have seen the seamless automation of cage talkers with the DVC. If an AMS is used instead of Excel, the initial population of cage talkers is done seamlessly from the AMS. Demonstrated cage changes are retrieved from the AMS via the standard DVC interface. Thanks to this closed automation loop, the documentation of your animal data is largely taken care of by itself.